it's an honor to be here addressing this meeting. I'm a child survivor of the Holocaust. I was 7 years old when the Holocaust, the war has reached my hometown, Budapest, and in March 1944, the German army invaded Hungary, although Hungary was an ally. It was suddenly discovered by the German intelligence that it was no longer a reliable ally. And with the Nazis in came Adolf Eichmann, who immediately set about the deportation of the Hungarian Jews. To begin with, from the countryside. And I had family in the countryside, in Transylvania, which was by then temporarily returned to Hungary by gift of Hitler. And 15 members of my family were perished in the deportations of about June 1944, where altogether 430,000 Hungarian Jews were deported from the countryside direct to Auschwitz. Very few returned. The next significant date for me was in October 44. It was then that the autocratic ruler of Hungary, Admiral Horthy, the regent, was arrested by the Germans because of his declaration of trying to leave the alliance. And suddenly, the fate of the Hungarian Jews became very much more imperiled. We had to wear the yellow star. I myself did, although I was only 7 years old at the time. But also all kinds of rules, legislation were brought in against the Jews, which included all kinds of humiliating rules, like Jews weren't allowed to board public transport or trains at all. And ownership was limited. And it was at that time, in October 44, that I was taken into a home which was supported partly by the Swiss Red Cross and also by Hungarian, some of the Hungarian churches, the Calvinists and the Lutherans, on false papers, pretending to be an Aryan refugee from the advancing Soviet army. I was in hiding, as I say, with false names and false papers, with a group of boys in one particular place, and my mother was looking after a group of girls in another place, and my father was taken to Belgium at that time on the particular Kastner project, which was a kind of a deal between the Hungarian, some of the Hungarian Zionist groups and the German SS. An unlikely story, but quite complicated. My father was part of that transport, taken to Belgium and later to Theresienstadt, but survived. I would like to just mention that the parallels between the experiences we had during the Holocaust, World War II, and the genocide in Gaza are inescapable. And although it is in some countries actually legally banned to make comparisons, I think we should make these comparisons and break these taboos as often as possible. The killings in the death camps of the Nazis were terrible and, as we know, included millions. But there is also killing in the death camps of Gaza with the open air concentration camp bombed indiscriminately. It's similar in some ways. It's certainly similar in spirit. I would also like to mention the pain of the situation of families where there are disabled members. One branch of my family fell victim of the genocide in Hungary, the Holocaust, because when they were offered an escape route by some sympathetic Romanian workers to be taken to Romania, which was much safer than Hungary, they had to decline it because the journey would have been by horse and cart over bumpy roads, and there was one particular member of the family who was ill, and it was judged that he couldn't take the journey. And they had to turn it down, and as a result, the entire family perished in Auschwitz, with the exception of one. And I can't help but feel that very similar situation must have arisen numerous times in Gaza, where families are told to move because of an order of the IDF within 24 hours or 48 hours, and then they're unable to move, maybe, because of a family member who is disabled, and then comes the heartbreaking problem of leaving somebody behind, or the whole family staying exposed to the bombs. Also, the repeated relocations, we ourselves, I myself suffered that during the World War II Holocaust, because as well as being in hiding, the frontline fighting in Budapest actually moved through us, and the number of times we had to relocate into complete uncertainty, and I know what that means to a family. And also just the very fact of having to take instructions, completely unreliable instructions from your family, from your enemy, and how difficult it is to make life and death decisions in those kind of situations. We've been through that, and it's happening time and again in Gaza. Also, we suffered the destruction of homes. Immediately after liberation, we who were in hiding in the Buddha Hills were able to return to look at our homes in the other side, and I remember going back at a glance realizing that our home was destroyed because of an explosion, a huge explosion nearby, took down all the front walls of an apartment block. And this sort of taking into awareness that within a few seconds you come back from a shelter and suddenly realize that your home has gone, which may have been taken decades to build up. It's a kind of humiliation and torture. And I want to also mention that This experience of the World War II Holocaust is being exploited by the Zionists, the Israeli state, to base their claim to impunity on it. And this is a complete misuse and an outrage against the memory of the Holocaust. And I am a member of a group of Jewish Holocaust survivors and descendants of survivors who stand by the side of the big marches, about monthly marches in London, with our placards proclaiming that who we are, and to prove that it is a lie that these marches are no-go areas for Jews. We are being warmly welcomed always, and also that we are denying that these marches are anti-Semitic. That is a great smear on these marches, which are the happiest and most friendly occasions. So I conclude now.